Hey, yo, this SV Twiz, the Hood Blogger. You already know how I carry it. Man, we getting into season 2, bro. This the first episode of season 2, talking about that murder game in the streets of Philly. Now, this particular story is about the JBM versus the Shower Posse. I seen plenty of other bloggers, YouTubers, from other states giving their perspective on it and all of that. So, I'm going to speak on what I heard from people that was really around that era. And with that being said, before I even get into that, I'm going to read this ad that was, taken by the news. And they obviously was speaking to people from both parties. And those people gave their perspective on what happened. But I'm here to clear up everything, from my best ability. For those of y'all that was around that era, y'all could DM me on the gram at SVTwiz, or y'all could also drop a comment down below the video and give your feedback. But we're gonna get straight into it. A violent war over drugs and turf that erupted between the Jamaican Shower Posse and the black drug dealers was responsible for at least 27 homicides in Philadelphia last year, according to a new crime study. The 65-page Pennsylvania Crime Commission report, officially released today, said longtime black drug dealers, such as a convicted dealer, James Big Roach Nelson, and members of the recently identified Junior Black Mafia, are attempting to regain territory taken over by the Jamaicans in West and North Philly. The leader of the Shower Posse, so named because members eliminate rivals by showering an area with bullets, was identified as Dennis Lawrence of 54th Street near Burks, and his second in command, Patrick T. or Trick Ryan, 25, no address. Neither could be reached for any comment. So a statement that was released by somebody said, "I'm familiar when the Shower Posse was in that era too." Ox says, Shower Posse was the Jamaican dudes. They were moving too. They didn't believe in anybody owing them $5. They ride around in Volvos with those baby Uzis and they'd spray up your whole family. And that's how that war went. Death for death on the streets of Philly. Here's what Tony Black, who led the Philly branch of the Shower Posse, said of the JBM situation. The JBM were some clowns. Some of the guys that hustled with me had a beef with them after they left me and went to war on their own. I think one of the guys killed one of their leaders. So that right there was just a statement, that obviously was, from one of the Shower Posse people. And they basically was, speaking on what they thought of the JBM. But if you notice, he said that they were clowns. But after he said that they were clowns, he said some of the people that hustled with him. So when you saying some of the people that hustled with you, that mean with y'all being the Jamaican Shower Posse, y'all came to Philly and y'all had people in Philly that was, working with y'all and stuff like that. From what I heard, I'm not even gonna get into what I heard yet. I'm gonna do that at the end of the story, but obviously he made it clear that the people that he was working with, their leader had got taken down by one of the JBM members. The JBM started about 85. Ak, the Muslim brother in the Fed, said from like 85 to 90, they had the city on lock. A 5-year run. Aaron, also known as Aaron Jones, had people do stuff for him. For real. Like, he had a little crew that put in work for him, a crew that would go all out. A lot of dudes were real nervous around him because of that crew. The JBM would shoot it out, but they were known for their styling and profiling too. They had the clothes, jewelry, and cars, the Fila sweatsuits, the Gucci sweatsuits, all different colors, Ox says. Aaron had a Benz back then, the 300. They were flossing, driving Audis, BMWs on the door where their handles were. And they had JBM emblems on the door handles. They had rings with JBM and necklaces. When they got busted, everybody said JBM meant just blowing money. They went through everywhere. It was rough in South Philly, but the JBM went down there. You had cats that was scared to come down there. Syrup was big with the JBM too. Syrup spot down South Philly that the JBM used to go to, and also one on 17th and Jefferson that's called 7 Block, where all the syrup was at. Everybody was on that syrup back then in Philly. We've been drinking syrup since the 70s. Syrup was like one of those choice drugs with a pot of cocaine and crack before it hit the scene. Drunk on syrup with money, power, and spades and the high caliber weapons galore, the JBM were some dangerous dudes, but they were particularly nasty to their own. Leroy Bucky Davis was one of Aaron's lieutenants in Southwest. He got killed in 80-90, Ox says. He was a little short dude, vicious fighter. He was a boxer. He was high up in the chain of JBM. Him and Aaron was like that. Him and Aaron had Southwest Philly. Bucky got killed on Crichton Street. He was coming home from a party with some broad. Bucky was trying to get the key into the door, and these jokers shot him. He tried to get his gun out of his ostrich skin boots, but didn't get a chance to. The girl got in the car with the dudes, and nobody ever saw the girl again. They said Aaron put the hit on Bucky because it was when Aaron was locked up, and Bucky was supposed to get him some money and didn't. Now right there is what I just read from this ad right here. Now, you know, that's not what I heard, but you know, whoever is giving this, you know, statement, obviously that's how, you know, he feel. But you know, I don't really know exactly what happened with the Bucky Davis situation, but I do know that Bucky and Aaron, you know, they was real tight with each other. But also after Aaron getting locked up, I know that Bucky had issues as far as getting work and stuff like that, because that was like the beginning, you know, of the fall of the JBM. But then this ad goes to say the Shower Posse may have met its match with the brutal and pragmatic JBM. The headlines in Philly said the JBM was balling out of control, definitely putting their thing down. But like all champions, a challenger was put forth to fight the JBM for the streets of Philly. It was like Ali versus Frazier, Hopkins versus De La Hoya. What was big news before turned into a real big news with the entrance of the Shower Posse, who were encroaching on the home's territory with a murder spree of their own. And that right there is the ending of that ad. Now I just want to break down a couple things, you know, from what I heard. First and foremost, I heard when the Shower Posse came to Philly, let's not forget the JBM, they was going through war with a lot of issues, you know what I'm saying, that was already going on in the streets of Philly. Now, Philly always been a wreck catching city, always. That's just part of the history. But I also feel as though, you know, they call this the city of brotherly love, and it can be that, but it's also a dark side to it. Philly not like a lot of other states where you got like states like Cali, for instance. Cali, if you are outsider and you just coming, you don't gotta be coming there on no rah-rah stuff or nothing. If you coming there and you not checking in, let's say you a guy with a couple dollars, then you know they'll box you in. They're going to try to, you know, rob you, do all types of stuff just from not being from that area. You know, Philly not like that. When it come to out of towners, the red carpet gets rolled out for you. But that don't mean you gonna come out here from a different state and think you about to set up shop. Now, you can get money in the streets of Philly if you from a different state and you tapped into the right people. You tapped into the right people, then the right people is gonna make it their obligation and make sure you safe as possible. Especially when it come to, out of towners that, got their work for a great price and the quality of it is great. They gonna make it work. They gonna protect you. You gonna have a red carpet rolled out for you. But don't think you gonna come to the streets of Philly and do what you want and you not from there. So with me saying that leads me to saying this. From what I heard when the Shower Posse came to Philly, what I think a lot of people left out was, what they was doing was they came to Philly and they was getting all the young guys, the 15, 16-year-olds, the 17-year-olds that was average corner hustlers, and they was coming up giving them propositions. But they had to work too, so they was hitting them off. But they was basically using the same tactics that the JBM was using, where it was like, get money with us or it's gonna be a problem. We gonna get you. So this is what a lot of people, left out of the story. So when they was coming to these young guys, you know how it is when you young, you might mess that work up. And then for the young guy that messed that work up, his life had got taken. I don't even remember the young guy name offhand, but for those of y'all that's from Philly, y'all know who I'm talking about. So it was young people that ended up, dying throughout the city. Now with this going on, the JBM, they already had plenty of wars going on. You had like the guy, I believe his name was Craig Haynes, where he was from uptown, and he wasn't trying to go for that. It was areas in the city that wasn't, accepting that JBM get down the lay down tactic. And one of those main areas was South Philly. So, when Craig Haynes was going through what he went through, he had folks up South Philly, up the P. So he went up there and tapped in with them. And, like it was said in that ad earlier, people, South Philly is one of them areas where nobody never played with South Philly that's not from South Philly. A lot of stuff changed nowadays, but South Philly's still in their A game. And what I mean by a lot of things changed is you got the internet era, so now you might see young boys on Instagram and stuff like that that's from different parts of the city, and they might seem as though they're going back and forth with certain people from South Philly, but South Philly always been one of them areas where, like, you go out there, you gotta be connected with somebody, and you ain't going out there on no goofy stuff, because they always stood on their business. They always was like a real unified area. So with me saying that was during the time when JBM was going through it from the OG from uptown. JBM wasn't able to come out South Philly during that time, but they was mainly on the guy Craig Haynes head. So around this time, it was a lot of wars that was going on in Philly, because the JBM had wars with a lot of people throughout the city of Philly. So when the Shower Posse had came, and then they start pretty much getting whiff of what was going on, to the point where they had made an announcement on the news, and it was said from one of the JBM members that did an interview a few years back. He said that he felt as though the way that they said that on the news, and they said that this Jamaican Shower Posse was in the city of Philly and taking stuff over, it was damn near like they was trying to alert the JBM to let them know, yo, these guys is out here, trying to take the city over. Once that news had erupted that the young guy that got his life taken, that's when the war had started. The JBM would, go to hunt down Shower Posse, anything connected to him. So as they would catch, Shower Posse members, it would be the same retaliation tactics that the Shower Posse would try to come back to do to the JBM. But the JBM was so connected throughout the whole city that not only was it the JBM that was on their top, it was also other various hustlers, and cold killers that was from the city of Philly that wasn't going to let the Shower Posse take that city over. So I saw on a different blog where it was like they was making it like the Shower Posse came over and just shut it down. Was it a war? Yeah, it definitely was a war. They said it was about 27 murders that go on both sides. But that type of action was already going on in the city. So them numbers wasn't really high. You check them, that homicide count, even in the 90s, that homie rate was always high in the city of Philly. It just was a shocker that you had people that came that wasn't from Philly that really tried to come over and take a presence and really thought they would take over a city like Philly. So what it boils down to is they came and they held it down to their best ability. But at the same time, the city of Philly wasn't going for it. So it was a lot of back and forth, but eventually the Shower Posse ended up, spinning out. They left. They was hopping back on planes. They was going back to Jamaica and going back over to New York because they had like a heavy wave in New York, and I wanted to believe that they was in Jersey too. But when they came to New York, they had a slot out in New York. You dig what I'm saying? Because it was a lot of New York had like a heavy Jamaican movement period out there. But out Philly, it's a lot different where we had Jamaicans that, of course, yeah, they had that urban, but it wasn't. They stayed in their own lane. And now this is talking about my era, like the early 2000s and stuff like that, where it used to, back in the day, you used to have Jamaican joints where you could go there and get a nice dub or some good herb, you dig what I'm saying? But they was always peaceful, the Jamaicans that even to this day that's in the, the city of Philly, they very peaceful people, so it was never no continuous back and forth situation. But just the answer to that was, yeah, they came to Philly and yeah, they tried to do their thing, but they didn't come to Philly and try to go straight at the JBM. They was getting young boys throughout the city and trying to hit them off with work and then try to use those intimidation tactics. We talking about regular corner hustlers where the JBM, they was going to the head guys that they felt as though was really getting rid of work. You know what I'm saying? And they was going to them like, you gotta grab off us, you gotta work with us. And if that person chose to deny that request, then they would take that person whole team to war. But they will always start from the head up. The Shower Posse was getting the young boys and using those intimidation tactics with them. So that's from what I was told, how the war had got erupted with the JBM and the Shower Posse. And from what those that was there said was, it went on for a little while, but then the Shower Posse had eventually left and chose to make other business decisions with their empire. But this SB Twiz, the Hub Blogger, drop a comment below. Y'all let me know what y'all think, man. But I'm tapping out, man. Stay tuned. We back at it. Season 2. Let's get it.